88% of companies now use AI tools. Only 18% cut their designers. By the end, you'll know exactly which slice of design work AI owns. I work inside companies folding AI tools into real creative workflows, and the graphic design numbers surprised me enough to build this entire breakdown around them.
88% of companies use AI tools. Only 18% cut their need for designers.
Clutch ran that survey in February, 403 working professionals across the country, and the gap between adoption and actual staffing cuts was stark. Almost every company touched AI. Almost none used it to shrink their design team. 32% of companies said AI only replaced the simple stuff, background removal, resizing, the busy work no designer actually wanted to spend their morning doing anyway. Translation, adoption did not equal replacement. They bought a tool, not a layoff. So companies are not cutting designers because of AI. That raises the obvious next question. Is the job itself actually growing at all? For the real answer, don't ask a survey. Ask the government's own data. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks every occupation in the country and publishes a 10-year outlook for graphic designers, updated every year. Here is exactly what that federal data actually says about graphic designers. 2%, that's the projected growth for this job, not a decline. You have probably seen headlines claiming AI is shrinking this job. The federal government's own projections say the opposite, slower growth, but still real growth. 2% is slower than average. It is still not a collapse. 265,900 people held this job in 2024. About 20,000 openings get projected every year. The whole occupation grows by only about 5,700 net jobs across the decade. Most of those 20,000 yearly openings simply replace retiring designers. Translation, this job is not vanishing. It is aging out and refilling slowly. So the occupation looks safe on paper. That still leaves a harder question. Are the designers who already have this job actually using AI? That is where the real story actually gets interesting. Figma surveyed 2,500 designers and developers across 7 different countries and asked that exact question directly, point blank. Their answer split designers and developers right down the middle. Only 31% of designers use AI in core creative work. Developers, 59%. Figma's report calls this the biggest split in the whole survey, designers pulling back from AI in creative work while developers lean all the way in. The tool got popular. The people who get paid for taste did not. Ask designers why, and trust is the real blocker. Not habit, not fear of change, just whether the output is actually usable in a real project. Only 32% say they can actually rely on AI's output in their work. That is not designers rejecting the technology out of pride. It is designers who get paid for judgment, refusing to ship what they can't vouch for. Translation is not avoiding AI. It is gatekeeping quality. So where is all that adopted AI actually landing if designers themselves are not the ones running it inside their core creative process every day? The answer is the bottom of the job, not the top. Clutch asked companies exactly where their AI design tools actually get used, task by task across the entire daily workflow. Background removal, 45%. Social graphics, 36%. Add variations, 35%. Those are the 3 biggest uses of AI inside a design team today. Repetitive, mechanical work a template can basically handle already. That is not the creative part of the job. That is the assembly line. Nobody hands brand strategy or an actual logo concept to an algorithm and calls the project done. The commodity tasks go to the commodity tool. Translation, AI ate the floor of the job, not the whole job. So if AI only eats the bottom of the workload, what happened to the rest of it? Did it vanish or move somewhere else? That demand shift shows up next in the very next numbers. Social content demand is up 50%. Marketing asset demand is up 42%. Those are the 2 fastest growing needs Clutch found in the entire survey, and neither one is a task AI can fully own on its own. The work did not disappear at all. It simply multiplied instead. 25% of companies say AI actually increased their design output needs. That is a quarter of every business Clutch surveyed, watching their design workload grow specifically because they adopted AI, not shrink because of it. That means more output pressure on designers, not less. 47% raised their design budget last year. 53% plan to raise it again. Only 12% of companies cut their design budget over the past year. Everyone else held steady or spent even more than before.
Translation: money is following design work uphill, not away from it.
Adoption is universal. The job is growing, designers are holding back, and AI landed on the boring tasks while budgets kept rising. What explains that?
The answer comes down to what buyers actually value.
Clutch asked companies directly, when you hire or evaluate a designer, what single trait matters to you the very most of all? Their answer actually explains this entire story we are building. Creativity, 39%. Strategic thinking, 19%. Speed, 7%. Affordability, 7%. Those are the top and bottom of the list out of 7 traits total, ranked by the same companies who took part in this entire survey. Creativity wins by a total landslide. Speed barely even registers. AI is excellent at exactly the 2 traits buyers rank dead last. Translation: AI got very good at the part of the job buyers value least. That is not a knock on the technology. Speed and affordability are real, measurable gains. They are just not what makes a client actually pick you. So the job does not disappear. The floor of it does. The commodity floor gets absorbed. The judgment ceiling gets paid more. So, if the floor is what AI is taking, the real move is obvious. Stop competing on speed. Start proving what AI still cannot do. Here is exactly how you actually go do that. The data already told us exactly where the value sits. The real question now is how you actually move toward it, starting today. 3 moves separate the designers who thrive from the ones who freeze. Here are the 3 exact moves in the right order. Selling strategy first means walking into a project with a point of view already formed, not just clean execution of somebody else's idea after the fact. That is the strategic thinking buyers rank nearly as high as creativity. Learning the tools already inside your workflow is not optional anymore. More than 80% say it will be essential to succeeding in this role. Median designer pay is $61,300 a year. Top 10% earners make $103,030. That is not a hypothetical race. That is the real gap the Bureau of Labor Statistics measures between the middle and the top 10%. Price for judgment, not for speed, and that gap starts closing. Only 30% of companies think AI-generated designs match human quality overall, and just 23% call the simple stuff merely comparable, not better. Translation: buyers already know AI output is not there yet. That is your opening. This is not a 5-year warning. It is happening inside real hiring decisions, in the same surveys we just walked through. Every number here came from real surveys and real federal projections. 88% adopted AI. Only 18% cut their designers. That gap is the whole story. The designers who saw this coming are already selling strategy, not execution. The ones who didn't are still competing on speed, exactly where AI is strongest. The real divide is judgment versus commodity work, not designers versus AI. So the question was never whether this job survives. The federal data already says it does, slowly, and it keeps paying more at the very top. Which side of that gap are you actually building toward? That is the real question this whole video has been answering, one verified number at a time. No guessing, no panic, just the data itself. Subscribe if you want the data before the next headline scares you. I keep pulling these numbers apart, job by job, so you know exactly where you actually stand instead of just wondering about it. That is the entire job of this channel every single week. So, will AI replace graphic designers? Not the job, just the floor of it.